there's a friar praying. There's a fierce battle with the clanging of the swords between two opposed families. And on top of everything, there's passionate and immortal love. This is Tchaikovsky Romeo and Juliet coming right up on Conducting Pills. Hi, I'm Gianmaria Griglio, I'm a conductor and a composer, and welcome to this episode of Conducting Pills, a series where we take a repertoire piece or a part of it and we analyze it from a conductor's point of view. In this episode, we'll dive into Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet, its structure, its phrasing, and of course, we'll have some technical tips. As usual, you can jump through different sections of the video by clicking on the links present in the description below. Now, let's begin! Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet is a fantasy overture, as the composer himself called it. Like many composers, such as Berlioz and Prokofiev, Tchaikovsky was drawn to Shakespeare's tragedy. Although Romeo and Juliet is not the only play that inspired him, he wrote works based on Hamlet and The Tempest as well. Now, the original idea did not come from Tchaikovsky himself, but from another great Russian composer, Mili Balakirev. In spite of that, the premiere was a total flop. Tchaikovsky revised the work over and over again following Balakirev's suggestions. From the first version of 1869, it took him 11 years of polishing to arrive at the version that we know today. And the premiere of the final version had to wait even longer, as it only happened in 1886. It was time well spent, as Romeo and Juliet went from a criticized piece to one of the most loved of all times. And its love theme, with its passionate melody, has sunk into our own consciousness. From a structural point of view, Romeo and Juliet is a symphonic poem in sonata form. As I mentioned many times, a sonata form typically consists of an exposition with two contrasting themes, a development and a recapitulation section. Everything is often framed by an introduction and a coda. But Tchaikovsky here goes a little bit off the rails, as he follows three threads in Shakespeare's tragedy and assigns them to three different themes: Friar Laurence, the conflict between Capulets and Montagues, and of course, the love between Romeo and Juliet. The opening embodies Friar Laurence's theme, framed in a chorale. It's like a Russian choir sung by the clarinets and bassoons in homorhythmia. Both the F-sharp minor key, suggested by Balakirev by the way, and the orchestration create a somber, religious atmosphere filled with anticipation. The lover's fate is heard in the strings. It starts from the bottom with the cellos and basses, with the other sections progressively overlapping. And notice how there is no crescendo, but the accents and the chromatism add a layer of anxiety to this moment. With a change of key, this moment takes off, filling us little by little with the clouds of what's to come. Flutes and clarinets on a pedal of violas and basses, while the cellos have a downward movement. And listen to this passage. The arrival on that high note is just mezzo forte, and yet it's crushing. The orchestration makes it almost sound like an organ, with that low F held by the basses and the bassoons. The harp makes its appearance too, but it's far away from what we'll hear, for instance, in Debussy or Ravel just a few years later. It doesn't add any gentleness to the atmosphere, but rather it seals its fate. The plucked sound is passed onto the strings in pizzicato. They retake the downward movement of the cellos and accelerate it by turning the quarter notes into 8 notes. And this turns into an accompaniment to Friar Laurence's theme, played now in F minor, so half step lower, by the woodwinds minus the bassoons. After the same material is repeated, we have something that usually happens in the coda of a movement. The various motifs are shortened and juxtaposed. As a matter of fact, we are in the final part of the introduction. And in the end, through a single chord in B minor in first inversion passed between strings and woodwinds in accelerando, Tchaikovsky leads us into the Allegro giusto, a conflict between Capulets and Montagues. The word giusto of Allegro giusto can be translated into just right. While this can be quite vague and very relative, it also holds in itself a nuance of not going too fast. And this part for me remains to be conducted in 4 rather than in 2, where we would lose the tightness and the clashing of the swords. And this is like a street scene, people coming from all over the places, facing each other, going after one another. You can actually picture it through the music. Now listen to this passage. Doesn't it sound like an argument? The violins take 3 notes and shorten them to 16ths. And piccolo, flutes and clarinets answer in anger. The dialogue is expanded and contracted again, using also a composing trick, the inversion. The same 3 notes that were going up are now read backward and moved down. And Tchaikovsky also increases the tension by moving up half step each time. Until he takes us to the battle. All the fire is concentrated in the strings, while the rest of the orchestra plays short chords. And the swords are in the cymbals. The action slows down, the same 3 notes reappear, getting more and more scattered. The 2 confronting families are leaving the scene, making room for the love theme. And this theme is warm, delicately played by the English horn and violas with mute, representing Romeo. Look at the orchestration, it's very peculiar. The horns palpitate in syncopation, while a bassoon offers a supporting carpet, doubled by the cellos and basses in pizzicato. The rest of the strings offer a moment of absolute intimacy before the theme is played again, this time by the flutes and oboes representing Juliet. And look at the first horn. Those descending figures are a topos of classical music, traditionally representing sorrow and or anxiety. After this beautiful page signifying the couple's first meeting and the scene at Juliet's balcony, the battle returns. The music intensifies and we hear an anxious Friar Laurence in the midst of it. The different motives come back and intertwine each other. And there's no room in this section for the love theme, not even a shred of it. The atmosphere is suspended. The violins are in syncopation, while the dialogue in pianissimo moves back and forth between brass and woodwinds. The conflict grows. Swords cross again, and again the loud theme rushes in a powerful D major, spreading its wings in the strings and piccolo. The conflict interrupts the dream of a lifetime. The lovers try to resist, but they pull apart. Friar Laurence's theme now sounds almost menacing. But there's no chance. We get into the final part of the battle, the lovers die, and the music dies with them into the moderato assai. The timpani sound of death, with those triplets doubled by the low pizzicato of the basses. A dark combination of bassoon, first violins, and cellos play a final homage to the lovers. Followed by the woodwinds. A last shred of the love theme ends on a timpani roll, which leads us to the end of the piece. At first, Romeo and Juliet was not successful either in Russia or in Europe. But a small but powerful group of musicians showed its appreciation for it. Camille Saint-Saëns in France and the group of 5 in Russia, Balakirev, on top of everybody else. In time, this piece became so popular that it has been used in movies, in commercials, in cartoon, and in all sorts of shows. Tchaikovsky had the power to transform a tragic story into a musical journey. He captured all of the drama, the tension, and above all, the intense love. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below the video and ring the bell so you will get notified every time a new video comes out. Let me know in the comments what you think about this piece, and I will see you next week with a new episode of Conducting Pills when we will talk about Beethoven's 4th Symphony. Till then, bye bye.